What do you picture in your mind when you think of God sending you out to preach the gospel? Do you think of going to a foreign mission field? Maybe preaching a sermon from a pulpit? Maybe it's just passing out tracts down at the beach. Well, what if God's mission field for you actually looks more like your neighborhood? What if it looks like your workplace or your school, or maybe the grocery store checkout line? In John chapter 4, we find Jesus on the move. The Pharisees had begun to learn about his growing ministry, and Jesus decides it's time for him to leave the area of Judea and go back up north to the area of the Galilee. Verse 4 tells us that in order to do so, he had to pass through Samaria. Now, most Jews avoided Samaria because they didn't like Samaritans, but Jesus understood that his steps needed to be ordered by the will and the purpose of his Father. And so verses 5 and 6 say that he reached a town of Samaria called Sychar, near a field that Jacob had given to his son Joseph, and Jacob's well was there. Now, Jesus, wearied as he was from his journey, was sitting beside the well, and it was about the 6th hour. Now, picture the scene. Long, dusty, dirty roads, the sun baking down, and Jesus, fully God and yet also fully human, is sitting tired and thirsty by the well. Suddenly, the Samaritan woman approaches, and what begins as a normal conversation turns into a divine appointment. Jesus didn't need to stop at this well. And when the woman approached, he actually didn't even need to strike up a conversation. But when the moment arrived, Jesus recognized it for what it was. It was a divine appointment, scheduled in eternity by his Father. And so Jesus stepped into the moment. This woman was broken and she was searching, and through Jesus, she would hear the good news. Even more than that, through her entire village would believe. I'm sure the disciples probably saw this as a detour and a distraction from the bigger ministry that Jesus would have been doing. And maybe we're a little like that too. Sometimes the roads through Samaria in our own lives, those people and places we would rather avoid, are actually the very purpose that God is sending us into in that moment. Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10 says this: "We are God's workmanship. We're created in Christ Jesus for good works, which he prepared beforehand that we should walk in them." What that means is that our lives are filled with divine opportunities. We don't have to go looking for good works and good things to do for God, because he's already actually prepared us and the works ahead of time. And as we simply walk through the course of our normal lives, we're going to run into those divine appointments. And so the message for today is to be ready, because your pulpit is wherever Jesus has placed you, and your mission field is the normal road that you walk every single